Just a few thoughts about inherency and exherency, and if you're wondering what those words are, you can have a look at some of my other videos or read some of my articles. You're probably new to if you don't know what they are. I'm in a cafe in Brighton. Actually, the Christmas stockings have been hung even though it's November. And in this cafe, let me just share some exherency with you. Something exherent is its size. I think it's big enough for about 50 people. It's a bit noisy, you can probably hear that in the background because it's about a third full, which is enough to add to the noise. Something else exherent is the door is open onto the street, so there's traffic noise coming in. Exherently is it's really warm in here despite the door being open. I can tell you exherently how many seats there are, that I'm going to have tea, decaffeinated. It's going to be piping hot because I've been here before, the tea that is. I've asked for the tea cake to be heated up. It cost me £6.50, blah blah blah. There's some exherency for you. Now inherency could be shared here, although that's rare because I think a lot of people think this is a really nice cafe. It's buzzy, it's got nice colours. But for me, inherently, individually, my inherency that you would not be able to pick up from my smiling face is a feeling of, I don't know, graspingness around the fact that they've already got Christmas stuff. But it could also simply be that it's not got individuality in the people that created it, because I think they're just copying what everyone else is doing on the high street, which is putting Christmas stuff out in October. You can make all of those guesses, but you wouldn't know that I'm picking that up. That's inherent to me. Part of my mystery is that I'm feeling just a little bit sad, that's the word, but it's not my happy face at all, that this cafe is bringing Christmas so early, and that's bringing other kind of inherent worries that this business won't last because there are so many cafes on the high street, and so if they're just copying what everyone else is doing and everyone's copying them, there might not be enough room on the high street for tea and cake that's heading towards £10 in the next year or so. Also inherency here is my own state of mind that's separate from this cafe, which is, you probably wouldn't know from this, but I've got an idea in my head for writing something, and I'm quite excited. There's a slight tiny spring in my step exherently, but sometimes you just wouldn't notice that there's some creativity going on inside me, and it's certainly not only located in my brain. There are some other exherent things here around. Oh look, someone's made a coffee, a dog's just come in. But inherently is a sense that this building itself, I've got some memories of what it might have been, and so I'm feeling that there's a newness about this place. You might just think that these are exherent things just to do with my feelings, but part of that newness and the oldness around it is just, I think a few people in here that have lived here for a while might have certain inherent kind of feelings and moods around what was this before, what has it replaced, and now my tea cake is coming over and exherently the person is smiling, so I'll just pause for a moment. Thank you ever so much for that, thanks a lot. There we go, that's an enormous tea cake. It was the last one of the day. Anyway, the qualities here around exherency and inherency are the exherent things are on the surface, and you might even be able to pick up initially inherent things like my mood from my face, from the fact that my foot is kind of rocking a little bit with the story that I haven't yet written. But even deeper down there are some of the inherent things around why I come to this cafe that you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that I like cafes with high-backed armchairs. You might measure that exherently if you followed me around and found that the choices of cafes that I chose were to do with the seats that were available. But I quite like sitting by a fire, even if it's not lit, and even if it's not real, and even if it's got Christmas stockings hanging from it way before it should be. And so there is a mix of things going on here, and therefore my reality is a mix of those more outer exherent things, and then those inner but slightly outer things like my mood, and then some of the more mysterious things that go on inside me that you wouldn't immediately know or guess at, which is I might be sitting in this particular cafe because I actually wrote a story here a few weeks ago, and you wouldn't know unless I told you that I'm sitting in this seat because there's a little bit of a creative flow that I get from sitting here. And so the more exherent things, again, that you might follow me around and know that I'm sitting here because I like high-backed armchairs, but also it is simply because there is part of my story that you couldn't know unless I told you, that are to do with my choice of seat, to do with my creative flow, and the fact that I wrote a story here. And unless I tell you that and write that down, no one would be the wiser. And there could be patterns of behaviours and people sitting here now that react to me and the fact that I'm talking on my phone and I'm recording something and there's some energy, and some people might look across curiously and they might get an idea exherently from me. They might overhear a word, even subconsciously, that leads them to say something different to somebody, that leads to all entirely different consequences. And these are the things that are inherent in a day that are not on the surface, and yet they play into, sometimes quite significantly, who we are and what we do. And as I've said before, in the rise of AI, if AI tries to mimic human beings, it tends to only mimic us exherently, because it simply has no idea of how to pick up intuitively, instinctively, mysteriously, not knowing, being patient and allowing something to play out from signs that are far less exherent than many of the things that a binary world does. Is he doing this or is he doing that? This story isn't ones and zeros, ones or zeros, but it's many other qualities as well. And just in this cafe, there's that wonderful blend of exherent and inherent, and I'm about to have an exherent toasted tea cake and a pot of tea, but inherently all kinds of other things might result.